Namaskar. Hello and welcome to 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘁𝑆 channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me today is Utsav Chakrabarti as we discuss a very important legislation that is doing the round in the state of California. And this is going to shock you. So there are people who are relentless. They want to keep causing trouble. To know more about this and to get a better, deeper perspective on what it indicates, let's welcome Utsav Chakrabarti of Hindu Action. Utsav, namaskar and welcome to 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘁𝑆 channel. How are you?
Namaste, Sree, and happy to see you.
So, Utsav, this thing has come not as a surprise because they are not going to be laying down quietly when SB 403 died at the desk of Gavin Newsom. They wanted to do something else. Now, recently, we have been following what is happening in Canada. Something similar to a caste discrimination law is being mulled over there. But this is something even more different. So to get a perspective of what this new law that State Assemblywoman Dr. Bains is proposing, kind of walk us through what is going on. And we have a small slide deck, viewers, and a request to all of you to first like this video because, this is getting a little too relentless is all I could say. And Indian Hindu Americans especially are now Jews 2.0 in my opinion. Well, let's see what Utsav has to say. I'm a little disappointed that a state as advanced as the United States and California would do something like this. Go ahead.
So, Sree, this is something I actually found out in quite a bit of detail. I had known about this before as I was visiting your state, California. So, as many of our friends know, I was in California for about 5 days last week. And as you will see later, I'm hoping Sree is going to post about it and talk about it. I met Sree face to face for the first time in San Francisco, near San Francisco, Sunnyvale. And it was a fascinating meeting. I totally enjoyed meeting the great man. But to come back to our topic, I digress. It was during this visit to California last week that I met many people. And across the state, I was in 3-4 different cities, from north to south, went down to Irvine near LA, all the way to San Diego. One common concern that came was that in California, anti-Hindu hate is now getting mainstreamed in different ways. And it is primarily coming from the Khalistanis. It's being driven by the Khalistanis, but obviously the usual actors, the extremists on the left, along with the Islamists, are willing partners. So what we have noticed, and this is something that was brought to my attention while I was in California, is that in February 2024, a legislation was introduced, which obviously looks very benign and actually means quite well if it is not looked into in detail, because on the surface, just like the caste bill, it looks like it's a really benign bill that should actually be good for all Americans. So it's called the Transnational Repression in California bill. This bill number is 3027, introduced in the California State Assembly by Assembly member Dr. Jasmeet Bains, which is obviously, as you can see, she's probably has sympathies with the Khalistani group and probably also has pretty close relations with 𝗤𝙗𝑆, who was instrumental in bringing the SB 403, which was also an anti-Hindu bill a year and a half ago. So this bill actually is pretty interesting. What it does is it points out the need to address transnational repression, which essentially means that if somebody is being harassed in another country, that person, as is common in America, they sometimes seek asylum in America, they get asylum in America. But what this bill actually does is that it goes a little bit further. It ensures that in America, anybody who claims that they are being harassed or they are being targeted and accuses somebody else in America of being the actors or the projectors of a foreign actor or a foreign nation, then they can take action against those people who are being accused of being the aggressor. For example, it is quite common to know that China has extrajudicial, so-called police in America, and they go after Chinese who are dissidents against the government of China, against the CCP. And they go after them in America. Similarly, Russia is known to target people who Russia considers its enemies in Western countries. Same for North Korea. But if you read the bill, and if you go to the next slide, Sree, this is obviously Jasmeet Bains, who is the assemblywoman who introduced it. Go to the next slide. One more. I think this is the older version I think we are using. I actually added a slide which I will read out. I'll read out the content. I think it's slide number 3, if you noticed. Your mic is muted, Sree.
Let me get the latest one. Just give me 1 second, and
Okay.
keep talking, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So basically, what it does is this bill clubs India along with China and Russia and Iran and North Korea. And essentially, what it claims is that if somebody claims that India is harassing them or targeting them in a Western country, they can be also responded to. And as you can see in California, because of SB 403, the record that California has of passing SB 403, which specifically targeted Indian Americans, primarily Hindus, for quote assumed of doing caste discrimination with no evidence, absolutely. So you can almost assume that this bill will be used against Indian Americans who are opposing anybody who targets them. For example, if tomorrow radical Islamists who support the jihadis in Kashmir do something in America, and if Indian Americans or American Hindus oppose them, they can be targeted using this bill and be accused of being foreign representatives of India and be prosecuted for it, or at least that's what it demands. So that's a pretty dangerous situation for ourselves to get into, because essentially this will be used to silence anybody and everybody who opposes, 3 main groups that are very active in America and that target Indian Americans as well as people back in India, and also American Hindus. The 3 main groups that could use this are the extreme left, the Maoists, who have a significant presence and support in America, the radical Islamists, who have a significant presence and support in America, not just against India, but also against many other countries, targeting many other countries, as well as the Khalistanis. Because as you can see now, the Khalistani aggression is getting pretty prominent, especially in California.
It's fine.
So, this is the part that is important from line number 6 to line number 16, because it includes India. And that is problematic because, essentially all American Hindus, most American Hindus will be accused under this targeting, no matter which part of the world you come from, because, they can be accused of being of Indian origin. And so essentially, if you are of Indian origin and if you are countering these radical groups, Islamists, Maoists, or Khalistanis, this provision, especially line number 6 to 8, can be used to silence you. And that's a pretty dangerous situation to be in. And America, especially California, if this is actually applied, will be in a place that is worse than where we are in Canada, where literally the Canadians of Hindu origin have been completely silenced by different state representatives and voices. So this is something that needs to be looked at. Again, this has not passed in California. This is Assembly Bill 3027 that has actually gone through multiple upgrades. So it has been modified a few times, and I'm hoping that it will not get to a situation where it passes. But because of the record of SB 403, we have to be very worried about this as well. Now, I wanted to go into a few more slides, Sree.
Yeah, this is 4, slide number 4.
Yes. So, this as I mentioned, I already discussed about this. Go to the next one. Yeah. So this is important because there has been studies done in America, and this is a 1-year-old study by NCRI Labs, which is a Rutgers University-based independent AI research group. what they have found out is that there is a very aggressive cyber activity that is directed against Indian Americans and Hindu Americans, emerging from different countries, but also very much present in America. And their research actually found out that before Hindu temples are attacked, or before any institution or organization or individual representing Hindu community in America or the Indian American community is attacked, there is a spike, very severe spike in cyber activism from the so-called Khalistani groups. So it is very important for us to understand and look at it in this perspective, because tomorrow, when these things will happen again, this California law, if it is passed, will silence the Hindu community completely. They cannot respond back at all. So that's something that, you know, our listeners should know, Californians should know, and they should make sure that this bill doesn't pass, or if it passes, they should exclude India with amendment, because India is an American ally, and that's very critical for most people to understand, especially in California. If you go to the next slide, please. Next one. So this has also got implications for the Jewish community, because current status of the resolution doesn't include Israel and the Jewish community, but it is just one amendment away from including them. And given the current status in America, where the radical Islamists and the pro-Hamas communities have been so vociferous against the Jewish community, that I will also be warning the Jewish community, and we should share this concern with the Jewish community as well, that if that next amendment comes and adds Israel and Jews into this, they will be silenced as well. And they will be accused of being quote unquote agents of Israel every time they speak against Hamas or their supporters. So that's something that I wanted to present to your audience, Sree, and discuss.
Thank you so much, Utsav. So let me give you some scenarios. Now, we know that Pannu has some, unfinished business as far as the Indian legal system and penal system are concerned, and he has not been coming back. And I think there was a court order based on which they essentially bulldozed some of its properties. I think he had not paid, or there was some, I don't remember the exact details, but it was a court appointed, it was a court order. Now, will this also be taken into cognizance that he is being targeted in United States, and that there has to be some sort of reparations or whatever, completely ignoring the fact that this guy broke the law in India?
So see, this is the slippery slope part of this bill, that there are real actors, real actors like Russia or Iran or even China, that actually do things to their dissidents. But the slippery slope part here is that if somebody commits a crime in, let's say, in India, or if somebody commits a crime targeting Indian Americans here, and this is something that should be very much understood by people who are listening, by the American Hindu community as well as the Indian American community. When the temple in New York was attacked and the statue of Mahatma Gandhi was broken by the so-called Khalistani activists, they did not face hate crimes charges. The reason for that was given as they were doing quote unquote political dissent. So this is the slippery slope of this bill, that in this bill they will want to get away with things that would be otherwise considered hate crimes and call it political dissent. And not only that, what this bill might even end up doing is penalizing Indian Americans who oppose their activities. So tomorrow, Sree Iyer or Utsav Chakravarti, if we are speaking the way we are speaking against the Khalistanis and exposing their past of being one of the worst terrorist movements in the world, we will be targeted. We could be legally targeted in America because quote unquote we are doing transnational repression, and that would be, no matter, you could be an American citizen and no matter what, it can be used against you, and that is a pretty dangerous place to be. And to put India in the same league as Russia and China and North Korea and Iran is something that our legislators and our lawmakers should seriously rethink about. I mean, what the highest income group in California are Indian Americans. So basically, they are going to be alienated right away.
So I feel sad that people of Indian origin are essentially being used to target our own other people. I mean, I don't know Jasmeet Bains, but I do know that one-on-one they'll give you one view, and as soon as your back is turned, or when it comes time to vote, it is something else. So we have seen this thing all too frequently. And I would urge all Indian Americans who can vote in the 2024 elections, as well as any other election known to mankind, know your candidate, do a little bit of research, call up their offices and ask them what is XYZ stand on this particular bill. And then you determine whether that person is worth voting for or not. And if they tell you one thing, and if they renege, be sure to mention that in your social media platform, because naming and shaming is at least the little things that we can do. So they know that you can do it only once. After that, people will know that, hey, you said that and you reneged on your word. Why should I give you my vote? And they need to come back to you for their funding, campaign funding. So you really need to give it back to them. That's why I keep telling in all my talks and shows, don't just take a picture with a congressman or a woman or a senator or whatever. Always have a list of 3 items, give a small percentage upfront, and then upon delivery of these things, give the remaining. Make them work for you. They are supposed to work for you. Don't feel bashful, shy, nothing of that sort. So these are all things that we need to assert ourselves. Utsav, I don't know how you feel about it. I feel pretty strongly about it, because most of them are one-on-one. The class of politicians a breed in itself, and unless they break the mold, I'm going to call them in 1 or 2 words. But anyway, I don't want to mention it here. But this is how they are.
So one thing, Sree, that we all have to understand is that in America, politics is very transactional. And I think it's not just in America. I think it's pretty much everywhere else in the world as well. It's very transactional, and so we should not be swayed by the color of their skin or or their background, or what they are saying. We should be swayed by what their actions are and what they will, and we will, as voters, people should be holding them accountable. And I do agree with you absolutely. It is absolutely true that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So especially in America, where there is power to your voice, is in social media, in the public space, make noise, make yourself heard. It is important that these people know that you are not happy when they're not doing something for you. And in this particular case, I don't think this lady is doing it because she doesn't know what she's doing. I think she knows exactly what she's doing, and the bill, the way it is written, in fact, it is almost aimed against Indian Americans, with China and Russia and Iran being brought in almost peripherally into it, to make sure that it is very accepted and is more palatable to the average American assembly person in California. But this is another version of the disingenuous influence operations being carried out in California, primarily because our community is so strong there, is doing so well there. This is basically the same intent as the SB 403 caste bill was, and that is why it is important to look into it.
Thank you so much, Utsav. We have a few questions, and with that, we can wrap up the show.
Sure.
Thank you, Raghuram Chadlavada, for your generous donation. Thank you so much. And Desi Stan wants to know, by this logic, Khalistanis are Indians. It should affect them too if they target Hindus.
Well, the Khalistani narrative has always been that they are not part of India. In fact, they are calling for a separate quote-unquote country called Khalistan, which, if you see the map of, includes Dharmasala, where Dalai Lama lives. And I was actually seeing that map, and a few Tibetan friends were pretty annoyed and upset about it. So yeah, Khalistanis believe that that's their point of view. And I think the way they will present this is that the state of India, which is the Indian government, is harassing them, is doing transnational repression against them, and they seek support from America because they are living in America as Americans to address this. And as part of the process, they will target Indian Americans as well. So yeah, they will not be considered Indians when they are presenting this case.
This is early days. I'm not sure if this has been already read in the Senate Judiciary Committee of the state.
No.
And I don't think it has been. Again, see, this is also going to be farcical because many people spent a lot of time going and spending their own money, traveling. See, California is a very big state. It's a very big state. It takes 8 hours to get from LA to Sacramento, and it'll take 12 hours to get from San Diego to Sacramento. And Sacramento is sort of not Northern California or Southern California. It is central or just the northern part of Central California. From there up to the border of California in the north, that's another 10, 12 hours. It's a huge state. And people spent their own money, drove hours just to give a 5-minute representation as to whether they wanted yes or a no on a particular bill. This is the caste bill. Now, the same thing will get played out. And again, the way they worded it, it makes it sound like there is a genuine thing, that it is something that has been happening for ages. See, the thing is, these are all fake narratives. And the best thing I can tell you right now, if somebody tries to call up Dr. Bains' office to ask them to explain this, nobody will respond. They won't pick up your calls. If you even force them to try and answer your questions, they get a very confrontational attitude. I'm stereotyping, of course, but that is what is the experience we have gained from explaining the caste law. When people were told, like, look, you are doing something wrong here. I mean, they basically were essentially confrontational. Like you mentioned about this other lady, that's exactly what happened. She has a very brusque, very brusque, almost like radioactive kind of a personality, in the sense that, how dare you ask me that sort of question? Not her, but the people that she has surrounded herself with. And this has become par for the course. I mean, you got elected based on Hindu American votes. And next time, I tell you, this person will be roundly defeated in the primaries itself, if not recalled before that. Let's wait and see, because that's again something. It's a process. It's in the
one thing you have to understand. The reason they are able to get away with these things is because what they do is this is how disinformation works. They mix some truth with untruth. And in this particular case, the way the bill is been written is that they do include China. So they will try to get the support of Chinese dissidents, whom we also support in all sense. We are for the Tibetans, we are for the Uyghurs. So we do support them. They will try to get the support of Russian dissidents, and that's the hot potato topic nowadays. So literally everybody and their brother and sister will support them. They will get support from Iranian dissidents, again another hot potato topic that will bring a lot of allies. In between, they slide India into it, and without even considering or without even mentioning that, okay, who are the Khalistanis and what have they done, and how are they different from let's say Tibetans. So that once you see the disingenuity and call it out, but they do it in a very, that's what they did in SB 403 in the caste. They would make it look like it is people calling for equality versus people calling for an inequality. And obviously everybody wants to be on the side of people calling for equality. So that's what they did in the SB 403. So this is it's a morally deceptive step. It's the way they do it is morally very deceptive, and that's what makes it so dangerous. But it's important for us to look into it and call it out early on.
So viewers, just like SB 403, P Gurus is at the forefront of this also. We will create awareness. We will get you more people coming and weighing on this, and we'll keep you posted on what is happening. Utsav, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's really late in the night there. I'm sure fireworks are still going off. At least you can hear, viewers, the fireworks have just started here because it just became dark. So thank you so much, and we'll be back again with
July. And happy 4th of July to all our listeners.
Happy 4th of July. Yes. Namaskar. Thank you so much. Namaskar.